When the shy, quiet girl everyone ignored was cornered by bullies and dragged screaming into the bathroom, she thought her worst nightmare had come true, but little did she know, just outside the school walls, her father and his entire SWAT team were running live drills, and the second her muffled cry for help slipped through the tiled walls, a storm of steel, boots, and fury was about to descend. Subscribe now for more shocking stories like this one. The story begins in the fluorescent-lit hallways of Ridgewood High, where 16-year-old Emily Winters walked with her head down, clutching her books tightly against her chest as though the very act of shrinking into herself could shield her from the cruelty that seemed to stalk her every single day, and today was no different, because waiting for her just around the bend were the three girls who had made it their daily mission to make her life unbearable. Jessica, the ringleader with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue, flanked by her loyal shadows Madison and Brooke, all smirks and whispered insults as they blocked Emily's way, and with the clock ticking down to her next class, Emily's heart sank when Jessica's hand shot out to snatch the notebook from her grip, tossing it between her friends like a game of keep away, until the humiliation boiled into Emily's eyes as tears, but instead of giving her pity, they sneered and dragged her toward the bathroom, Madison's fingers like iron around her wrist, Emily's protests falling on deaf ears as they pushed her through the heavy door, the laughter echoing against tile-like cruel music, and inside they cornered her, taunting, threatening, planning to record her breakdown on their phones for the whole school to see. Yet what none of them realized was that across the football field, beyond the gymnasium, through a set of reinforced double doors, the sharp crack of gunfire blanks and the clipped shouts of tactical commands thundered through the air, because Emily's father, Lieutenant Jack Winters, was not just any dad, he was the commander of the city's elite SWAT team, and today of all days, their high-intensity training drill had been scheduled in the abandoned annex right next to the school, the very building whose walls now reverberated faintly with his daughter's muffled cries. Emily trembled, her pleas swallowed by mocking laughter, until Jessica shoved her hard against the sink, pulling out scissors with the sick grin of someone about to carve humiliation into permanence, threatening to cut Emily's long brown hair as Brooke filmed on her phone. But Emily, desperate and terrified, screamed louder than she ever had in her life, the sound ripping through her throat like glass, and that scream, thin yet piercing, carried through the vents, across the quiet zone of the annex, where Jack, sweat-drenched in body armor, paused mid-command, his instincts honed by years of combat snapping his head toward the sound. At first, the men thought it was a part of the drill, maybe a staged civilian scenario, but Jack knew his daughter's voice, he would know it anywhere, and his blood turned to ice as he dropped his training rifle and sprinted toward the source, barking orders for his team to follow. Back in the bathroom, Jessica had already grabbed a fistful of Emily's hair when suddenly the bathroom door rattled, then slammed open, not from a teacher or janitor, but from a wall of black-clad officers with rifles, helmets, and shields, a terrifying sight for anyone unprepared, and Jessica froze mid-laugh, Brooke's phone clattering to the floor as Madison's grip slackened in horror, but Emily, wide-eyed and gasping, saw only one figure, her father, face grim and eyes blazing as he stormed forward, sweeping past his men to pull his daughter into his arms. For a moment, Emily sobbed against his vest, the safe thump of his heart drowning the nightmare, but Jack's wrath had only begun to unfold, because as he turned his glare toward the bullies, even hardened officers stepped back at the fury burning there. "On your knees, now," one of the SWAT members barked, and the bullies, trembling, obeyed, their smirks gone, replaced with tears and panic, because no one had ever expected their cruelty to be met with the might of an entire tactical unit. The bathroom filled with chaos, students peeking in, teachers rushing from classrooms, phones recording as the scene spiraled, but the real twist came when the school principal pushed his way inside, stammering apologies, but Jack wasn't hearing it, his voice low and deadly as he reminded them all that while he wore the badge to protect strangers, he was a father first, and anyone who touched his daughter would learn the meaning of consequences. But then, another voice rose, from Emily herself, who through her tears begged her father not to ruin his career over her, because she could see how close he was to crossing the line between protector and avenger. That plea pulled Jack back from the brink, and he holstered his fury, ordering his men to stand down, but ensuring the bullies were marched out in shame before the entire school, their parents called, their reputations shattered forever. Yet as Emily thought the ordeal was over, another twist unfolded, because Jessica's father, a wealthy businessman with political ties, stormed into the station later that evening, threatening lawsuits, suspension, and retaliation, claiming his daughter had been traumatized by excessive force, turning the tables in a dangerous legal battle that could strip Jack of his badge and his livelihood. Emily, feeling guilt gnaw at her, decided she couldn't let her father pay the price for defending her, so she did the unthinkable. She uploaded Brooke's video, the one meant to humiliate her, onto every platform, exposing the truth of her torment, the cruelty of her bullies, and the heroism of her father, and within hours, the video went viral, the narrative shifting, the nation rallying around the quiet girl with the SWAT dad, demanding justice not against Jack but against the bullies who had tormented her. The twist shocked Jessica's family, whose threats crumbled under public outrage, leaving Jack's badge safe and Emily's voice finally heard. In the days that followed, Emily, once the shy invisible girl, became a symbol of resilience. Though she never sought the spotlight, she only wanted peace, but deep down, she knew the ordeal had uncovered something inside her, a strength she never realized she had. And for the bullies, their reign ended not just with suspension, but with the weight of the world watching them fall from power. And so the story that began with cruelty in a bathroom ended with an entire school learning the cost of silence, and a father reminded that sometimes the greatest battles are not fought with rifles and shields, but with love, truth, and the courage to stand tall even when the world tries to drag you down.